description of our organization. SEMS Welfare Foundation is a registered non-profit organization dedicated to social impact across various sectors. We focus on education, particularly skill development and entrepreneurship. With partnerships in education, government projects, and international collaborations, SEMS strive to create a more equitable and just society. We are proud of the impact we made through training programs, international conferences, and various grassroots efforts in our rural areas and urban slums. So now let's get back to our session. Women can develop effective negotiation skill in a workplace by being prepared, confident, and strategic. Know your worth. Set clear goals and research to support your request. Practice assertive communication, active listening, and focus on mutually beneficial solutions. Build a support network and seek feedback to continuously improve. By developing these skills, women can advocate for themselves and advance their careers. We are privileged to have with us Miss Arpana Kumari, who will be conducting this session. She is an ardent and experienced human resource professional with more than 11 years of experience, delivers session on soft skill and human resource. Let's welcome Miss Arpana, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Tanisha, for the warm expression. And I extend my thankfulness to SEMS Foundation for inviting me and giving this beautiful topic, which is very pertinent in context of women. And indeed, the negotiation skills are important in all arena of our life. Specifically, when we talk about women, it's pertinent to talk today and various aspects of the negotiation skills. So, thank you once again, and I hope this session would be fruitful for all the participants. I would be sharing my screen. I would request host to just confirm me whether my screen is visible or not. So, the topic, very pertinent topic that we'll be discussing today is about negotiation skills for women in the workplace. And I would extend my warm welcome, first of all, to all the participants joined here for this session. To start with this session, I'll start first with an icebreaker question. I would request everybody to answer what's one situation where you had to negotiate recently. I would request participants to answer in the chat box. Let me see. Okay. And the same is open for host as well. So you can also participate because this topic is related to everybody. So the question is, what's one situation where you had to negotiate recently? Any brief answer? Anybody? I'm waiting for 5 seconds. Tanisha, you are also welcome to answer.
Thinking.
See, the more we interact, the better the session would be. Otherwise, it will be monologue. And we are here to maybe to make it more fruitful. We need to interact. We keep on negotiating in everyday life of ours. No one. No one is answering. Okay, so that's fine. So let me start it, and maybe in between the slides, we'll be able to catch up with the participants. So there are multiple situations where we have to negotiate, and they might be related to salary, our increments, our projects, the rewards and recognition, the working hours we might need to negotiate, the facility we want from our employer, or if in case we are entrepreneurs, we are running our own organization, we might need to negotiate with our clients as well in terms of the financial aspects. So there are multiple venues wherein we negotiate. But research shows that women negotiate less often due to social conditioning and fear of backlash. So when I say social conditioning, this talks about that from childhood, many girls are taught to be polite, accommodating, and conflict averse, while boys are encouraged to be assertive and more competitive. So girls are taught to stay like this, taught to grow like this, that you should be always polite in your nature, you should not get into the conflict. And this conditioning leads women to avoid confrontation. Many women do not want to get into the arguments. When they see that their conversation is leading to an argument, they stop the conversation. And therein, this leads to them to some losses, and maybe certain areas wherein they deserve those matters and those things, they might not be able to gain those things which they actually deserve because they avoided the country. So that's how the impact of this social conditioning is there on women. And second is about the backlash. So maybe women assert themselves in negotiation, they often face certain negative stereotypes that maybe if I'm confronting with my colleagues, and if I'm arguing with my colleagues on certain topic, I might look bossy. I would not, and this might be a negative image of mine. I might look that I'm too demanding. And this might also discourage women from negotiating formally. So many of the times, women do not want to look bossy or demanding. They also want to have that good figure, good image in the society, and they want that certificate to receive from everyone in the society, from everyone in the office, that they are a well behaved person, and she doesn't argue much. She's a very good personality person, and because of that, many conversations which can lead her to a good career, to a successful career, she leaves that, she misses that, because she doesn't talk about what she deserves. So why negotiation matters for women? First is, it is essential for career growth for women. It is also essential when there is a pay parity. She should be aware of, she should know that there is a pay parity happening around her. And if in case she senses some happening of this, she needs to speak there. And of course, the negotiation also enhances her confidence. This enhances her reputation in the office. People realizes that she is the woman who talks about, who is confident about, and who takes calls for herself. She doesn't just stops the arguments or the conversation, but she knows how to speak, what to speak with all the points and data. So avoiding communication and conversation is not is what is required in your career, but leading your conversation with the right data is important. Now, what is negotiation? Technically, if we talk about negotiation, it is a long process or maybe a short process, but it's a process in which two or more people engage in discussion to reach an agreement or a solution of mutual interest. So this shows that whenever there is a negotiation, there would be involvement of two or more people, and there would definitely happen a discussion around a topic. Now, why this discussion happen? Because both parties or everybody who is involved into this, they are somewhere related to the topic might consider, maybe if I'm talking about the salary, so this, if I ask for the salary increment, my employer would have to lose the budget part from his area, from his fund, that if he is releasing some fund for my salary, he would be losing the amount of his fund. So herein the solution needs to come to the mutual interest, and that's why that topic is always discussed. And this is how both parties are involved in this. Now this, there may be two people, or they more than two people can also get involved in the negotiation. Specifically, it involves exchange of information. So whenever we negotiate, we have information. Without information, if we are speaking, that's just an argument, that's not a negotiation. So when we think that we are negotiating, we should always have our data, our ideas, our information ready with us, in support to the topic that we are talking about, in support to the interest that we have. Second is advice. It also involves the advice. When we have our information, we should need to sync our information in a way that we are able to advise the listener that why this information is important, and why the ask them that I am asking from the listener is needs to be considered. And this all happens to reach a compromised state wherein both party little bit adjust, and then they come to the agreement wherein this would be beneficial for both. So that's technically, this is what the negotiation all about. Now it depends on context to context how it is applied, and how it can give benefits to the parties. Challenges faced by women these days, and why this negotiation skills should be trained by for the women should be trained in the negotiation skill. First is the gender stereotype, and this gender stereotype is one of the most significant context which gets into this women negotiation. Many women face biases that can hinder their negotiation confidence and effectiveness. It is seen that women should not be my boss. Many male people, many males can have that psychological mindset that I cannot work under a woman. My boss cannot be a woman. Or if my colleague is conversing with me, I should be the one, if she's a woman, I should be the one who can overpower the conversation, who should win the conversation. Or if in case any work is being given to the colleagues or the subordinates and male and female are there, male might consider that women is the one she should start working on this, and I should be the one, I can cooperate with her in terms of directing. So these are the gender stereotypes that female should not argue, female should not be impolite, female should not be coming up with a detailed conversation or extended conversation. And because of this gender stereotype as well, later on, by repeatedly society or people speak or support this gender stereotype, women also to some extent start accepting that yes, this is how it should be, and I should not feel that I can be boss of a male employee. So that's one of the barrier, and maybe this mindset is there mostly in the society. Second is about fear of backlash. The fear of backlash is about, there is a concern in women about the negative repercussion that can prevent women from advocating for their needs. That if I argue much or if I converse much, I might be considered that I am very arrogant and I am not a good person, or I am not a good girl, I am not a good woman, or and I am very very harsh in my statements. I'm an angry person. I keep on fighting with everybody. So these are the fear of backlash which she thinks that from society I might need to face if I come up with my voice. And that's why with proper justification, having proper justification, still women do not come ahead and she doesn't put her words forward. Third point is about the self doubt. So many women experience imposter syndrome. Now what is this? Imposter syndrome is about doubting their competence despite proven success. So they have proven their success. For example, if somebody has worked for 10 years and she has been switching companies, and she is giving interview, and she has joined a new organization as well. So these are the few examples of a success, but still she doubts her competence when she has to confront with males. And this is why, because there is a mindset in women itself that maybe I might not be right, I might not analytically right, a male is saying, and he might be logically right. So this overall imposter syndrome is there around in most of the women who doubt their competence and do not really analyze that they have been successful in their past and they should keep on working in their strengths, and not really consider much all the negative outcomes that she is receiving from the society. So more focusing on what has worked for her, what is her own strength, and yeah, taking feedback is quite good, but still understanding own strength and keep on shining those strengths are the areas which really works for women. And another point in this self doubt is women often believe that they must be 100% ready or fully qualified before she makes any demand. So in between of that, until she is perfect, until she thinks that I am 100% qualified now, and then only I should move to the position, I should move to the demand, I should go to employer and talk about my requirements. So therein again, this takes time, this extends her time to actually go and talk to manager about her requirements, because she keeps on thinking that whether is this is what I should have done, or have I done much that I should ask for my requirements. So these are the self doubt, and which basically amplifies the fear of being rejected and or judged negatively by speaking up. So the time she has those self doubt, she keeps those self doubt with herself, she doesn't go ahead and asks for her requirements. So this results women may accept only initial offers and not negotiate much in terms of salary, in terms of increment or other services. And the final point here is fear of being labeled aggressive, and this is very very sensitive point wherein women lacks of self advocacy. She thinks that if I again talk much, or if I keep on asking for my services or for my benefits, I might be labeled that she's very aggressive women in the office, and she would not like to be called like that, because other women looks polite, they keep on accepting what is being offered to them, and that's how a woman should be labeled like. And when somebody asks their own benefits, she might be considered as an aggressive person. So these are the few challenges which actually surrounds a woman and doesn't allow women to move ahead and come out from her shell and use her actual strengths, which she can combine, she can collate, she can use that to support her arguments and convert her demands into the outcome. Now, we know this lady, she's ex chairman, chief executive officer of PepsiCo, and women who negotiate effectively can increase earnings by 20 to 30% over a career, because we all are working for benefits both in terms of monetary and non-monetary. And if we keep on thinking, we keep on negotiating, definitely we'll be getting something. And the irony is, women keep on giving up just to avoid arguments, and she thinks that she's avoiding arguments and that gives her mental peace, which is the illusion. If you don't argue, you will definitely buy for that particular time, you will you will feel that mental peace. But later on, because of when you see people are growing around you and you are the one who could not negotiate with the salary or the benefits, and you are not par to the benefits that others are getting with having the same roles and responsibility and the designation, and that gradually snatches your mental peace, and which you might realize at the later stage. So why not at the early stage let that mental peace at the early stage little disturbed, and to have a smooth life with a better opportunities and better benefits and enjoy mental peace later on. So Indra Nooyi, she herself has told, if you don't ask, you don't get. So whatever you need, you think you deserve, you definitely need to talk about, because nobody is going to talk this for you, neither your neighbor nor your colleague nor your boss. So you are the one who has to collect your courage, who has to collect information, data for your support, and you have to talk. Anyhow, you have to talk. And then you talk 20, you might land up getting 10, you might land up getting 8, but if you don't talk, you are at 0. She is the lady Kiran Majumdar Shaw, again a very strong personality, and she mentions there are many examples of failure. I had a huge credibility hurdle to overcome. I failed to get financial support. I failed to recruit people I wanted. And the first 15 years were about survival. And she mentions that because I was women, many employees did not want to work under me. Many employees did not want to consider me as a boss. Female cannot be my boss. Even many banks who, that's a short story, getting banks to fund her venture was nearly impossible, because banks thought that how women can run a business, that would be later on she might not continue her business, and that the investment if banks do on her, that investment may go in vain. So banks wanted her father to be a guarantor, who is a male member, and Kiran disagreed on this principle. But yeah, later on, we know the rest is history. She is doing great. She has done great with her organization. So we'll talk now about certain essential skills. Till now, we discussed about how the challenges, the barriers to women for the negotiation. Now we'll talk about what are the skill sets which are important for effective negotiation. So these are the two models, negotiation models, which are available technically, and which have been offered and recommended to be used when negotiation is done. First is the distributive model, and second is the integrative model. Distributive model is about win and lose. That says that if you win the part of the part of a circle, there's a circle, and if you win a part of a circle, that would be lose to another part of the circle to the other party. So we consider it as a circle, and the bigger the my pie would be, the shorter the pie of the my opposition, and this is a fixed pie. And basically in distributive, we talk about how to claim value, how to be adversarial, and how this issue is single. We'll talk about how these both can be used in different contexts. So let's start with the distributive model. Distributive model talks about that a limited resource has to be divided. So distributive model should also be used on context, that whenever there is a limited resource and there is a demand of that resource, how that resource has to be negotiated. And this is best used when salary negotiation has to be done. So for example, your employer offers you salary of 50,000 and you are asking for 70,000, and both of you give your data, give your justification, offer your information, and you keep on conversing on the same, you keep on negotiating. And if your employers steps ahead and offers you 60,000, that means 10, he is in loss of 10,000 and you are in gain of 10,000, and you are also in loss of 10,000 as well, because you were asking for 70 and this is now 60, but he has to lose that 10,000 from his pie. So it is a kind of negotiation. When somebody wins, another has to lose, so that's a win and lose situation. And this is best used in salary negotiation, annual appraisal, when the resource is limited. The kind of resource it is, that somebody loses, another will win. That, so how do we have to use this? I'm here coming up with certain examples which we can use, and it is also about how do we put forward our demand in front of the listener, and make, we can call as a, when we negotiate, how the demand has to be put forward. So whenever we are speaking, we have to keep our data with us. Our statement should be data driven. Our statement should not be vague. Whenever we speak, we should have our data with us. So for example, based on my performance matrix this year, I exceeded my sales target by 25%. And I would like to discuss a salary adjustment to reflect this contribution. So if you see that your performance matrix is doing pretty well, and you have also achieved sales target, not just achieved, you have exceeded the sales target, you should definitely ask for the salary adjustment, because role of yours is being played by other employees as well, and maybe they have not achieved the sales target but they are being paid similar to yours. And therein, this should be your own interest, that when I'm doing good, I should be paid well because I'm contributing extra to the organization. But there is a way to speak that and put it front. And and what is that way is about having your data and information with you, and then you relate that data with the benefits that you are asking. Second example, considering industry standards for my role and experience, I believe an increase from rupee X to rupee Y is appropriate. You don't just ask for the raise inside the organization, but you have done your homework by surveying what is the standard salary for same roles and experience in other organization in the market. So in that sense, you are coming up with the statements and asks with proper data and survey, and this gives a support to your statement. And later on, if in case any conversation happens, at least you have a base ready with you. Next, about we talked about that direct and data driven statement is important. Next is about confident and assertive statement. So here, whenever we are coming up with our statement, the example is, I would like to request a salary revision in recognition of my result and added responsibility. So data driven information, everything is fine, but whenever we are speaking, that confidence should reflect in our speech as well, and we have to be assertive as well, that when I am really serious about what I'm saying, it is not just that I've come and with an idea, but it is a serious consideration that I have put, and you should also consider it seriously. So that's how this statement reflects confidence as well as assertiveness. And I'm showing you this little conversation, how this conversation can happen as an example of distributive negotiation. So there's a lady employee, and she asks, over the past 6 months, I have taken on additional responsibility to my original role, and I would like to request for a salary adjustment of 15% to reflect this. So whenever I am coming to salary increment, I need to back up with what did I do. Based on that, I'm asking for the salary increment. And the answer that this lady gets from the boss is, we appreciate your work, but raises are usually capped at 10%. Now emotionally as well, I need to be ready that I might receive such responses. Of course, I'm going for 15% hike, and chances are high this might get rejected, or there might be the chances the negotiation or conversation will start happening on my ask. So my answer here with this lady would be that given the extra responsibility calls for 15% rise in light of market standards for similar role. So here inside the organization and outside the organization, the survey should be yours. That should be complete because every organization is competing with other organization and we are not working in silos, so we should know the industry trends and market trends and we should be ready with our pitch. Now, this would be another exercise for you all. I hope you are there with me. And this is a confidence mirror that you have to participate. I can see now 17 participants here, so that's great. And this confidence mirror asks you to state one achievement you are proud of and reframe it into a negotiation statement. So, how do you have to reframe? Because I achieve dash, I deserve this thing. So, I would request you all to write in the chat box. Think of a statement, any of your recent experience, and reframe your experience negotiation statement in this formula. Because I achieved this X, I deserve Y. I hope this is clear. There's no confusion. Can I have few messages or nobody is listening to me?
Can we give past experiences?
Yes, sure, sir.
I have got two experiences, past experiences.
Yes.
One was that I was not promoted for 16 years in my organization, and I had done a good work, and there was no promotion for 16 years. One of the meeting MD was conducting, so I raised this point. He asked me, "Who is your boss?" And my boss was sitting in front of the first line itself. I told my MD that he is sitting in the front. Then he called me in the office that bring your file. He saw the file, my boss. He said something adverse has been written. If you want, I can meet MD. So I denied it. He don't meet. So, but days after few days, there was an interview and he was sitting in the interview and he was having this point. So he gave me a promotion.
Oh, that's great.
That was a negotiation in the meeting with MD, and the result was I got one promotion.
And I hope you did not face any repercussion after that from your boss.
No.
That day.
I got the promotion from my boss itself. He was sitting in the interview.
Okay. Your boss had given you promotion. That's
yeah. So
that's
second point was there. Another promotion. I had spent 5 years and there was no promotion. Then again, I raised this point that 5 years I have worked. And so in an interview, my old boss was sitting. He told me what you have done. I told him I have made 8 stores for Sukhoi fighter aircraft and you can just cut the ribbon. So all started laughing in the interview and he gave me one promotion, another promotion.
That's great.
So these type of negotiations results into good achievement.
True. So I think that relates with the point. If you don't ask, you don't get it. Yeah. So thank you, Sir Ghanshyam sir, for sharing your experience, and that must have encouraged other participants as well while relating this content, while relating your experience with the context that we discussed. If you don't ask, you don't get. So if you see that you are not getting, by default, ultimately you have to talk about it. And yes, very formally, we don't need to panic on this. Very formally, we can put forward our words.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? And sir has rightly said, because I have worked for 16 years and as per the rules of the organization, I should get the promotion. I deserve promotion. So very well set in this formula as well, which I shared. Confidence mirrors. Anyone else? Anyone else who can share? I think if somebody is collecting their thought. Okay. You can write in even chat box. A small statement will also work. The format that I've given. Okay, I think everybody must have their experience. So you can share. No one. Okay. Ma'am, but what if they deny saying excuses then? There in the conversation starts. So that's what we talked about. If you ask at least what you deserve, there would lead a conversation, and then you can put your data that supports your conversation, your information. At least you need to have 4 to 5 data support with you. So you start with one data, then you can support the another conversation with another data. So whenever you have your data ready with you, the person listening to you will definitely give a logic or analysis. And if in case it's their purview of the organization, you need to talk, because people take for granted as well that The person is not asking, why should I bother? So that's again one of the general mindset in the industry, that let that happen. He has never asked why I should bother about it. But once you start asking very humbly, very normally, very humbly, some repeated askings happen, the chances are high that you will definitely get something out of that. And if in case it is not happening at all with lots of conversation, then you can start thinking of taking your call, the best of your call. People switch the organization. I'm not suggesting or supporting for that, but I'm just talking about the cases that happens. Or people might might ask for the best roles that you are actually looking for, that if that is available inside the organization. But the first and foremost step, if we have not taken, then we are basically, in a very layman language, we are the criminals if we are not taking call for ourselves, because our neighbor and our colleagues are not going to talk for us. We have to talk for us. So I think that is fine for everyone. Okay, so let me take this ahead if nobody else has to talk anything. Right. So next, we talked just about the distributive bargaining. Now there is another model, that is integrative bargaining, and this supports to look forward for win-win collaboration. Now this win-win collaboration is about, there are chances that both the parties can win. Nobody needs to lose anything. That's clear, sets the clear goals. And if somebody is very strategic, they can strategically use this tool. What does it talk about? If you have been given some assignment and you are already overloaded with some assignment, you can ask your project manager to collaborate you with your another colleague, so both of you can start working on that project, and your work gets divided, your time gets divided, and you can feel little relaxed about it. So instead of asking for just I will be able to do or I'll not be able to do, you can come up with some solution which will work for both your manager and for you. So collaborative project assignment, if I take on client A, perhaps you could handle client B, so we both maximize results and share knowledge effectively. And that's very well work in teamwork as well. If four of you are working in a team, if you divide it properly, this would be a team success. Now flexible work arrangement is another example for this. If I adjust my hours slightly, I can deliver some extra project work. Would that be feasible for the team? So if in case there is no problem related to the flexible work arrangement, if you're coming to office at 9 and if you have a project to start at 10 o'clock, and if you ask your manager that I would be little late for 3 days if you have some home assignment, and for 1 hour if you're getting late, and for that particular 1 hour there's no work of yours to do in the office, and if for that particular 1 hour you are going to give extra contribution of yours in some new project, your boss should not have any problem for that, because he's not losing anything. So that would again a win-win situation. So strategic people always come to win-win situation wherein another party doesn't has to lose anything, and that solution is discussed properly and come up with the best decision. Resource or budget sharing. So maybe in your organization there's a budget that has to be shared, and I know budget is tight, so perhaps we can think of reallocating resources from project X to project Y. So maybe project Y is over exceeding with the budget which it doesn't need, and project X budget is under budget, so maybe project Y budget amount can be floated to project X, and there is no loss of company and yours as well. So this is how lots of strategic solutions can come up with. Instead of thinking either do or die, why not to come up with the win-win situation? So that's again women can think of. Instead of she thinks that either I have to do complete work or I have to give it up, I have to give it up the project, you have to talk to your managers that can you be assigned a team wherein you can have few people working with that project. Can there be some flexible work arrangement? Can there be some budget sharing options available? So we can always come up with some win-wins collaboration instead of giving up or taking it all on you. Next is techniques to overcome biases in negotiation. So very crisp techniques for specifically women I'm talking about. As we already discussed these areas, I'm little summarizing it. So whenever we are coming up with our statements, we use data. First and foremost thing, always be ready with that. Second is no emotions. but always a logic and data will support your arguments. The moment you get emotional, the statement and complete pitch gets diluted. Listen actively. So instead of a long conversation and a heated conversation and continuously somebody is jumping in the conversation, start calmly. Listen what your other opposition is talking to you, and listen actively, summarize what he has spoken, so there is no confusion that what he said and what you understood. So when you summarize the points what you listened, that gives a clarity in the conversation. So an active listening is also important, wherein you listen carefully and then you answer then you take your next call, what do you have to answer. Third and very very important point is we have to keep giving pauses before responding. Instead of the moment a statement has come from front and we jump to the answer, we have to avoid jumping quickly. We need to give pauses before responding, and it also shows confidence. It also shows that we are very calm when we are speaking. We are not panic and no. And whenever we get panic and it seems that the person is panic, it shows that you are low confident person. So the more calmly, the more easily with pauses you talk, it looks like a natural conversation instead of a heated or panic conversation. And final one is reframing goals. So whenever we are achieving, keep note a diary whatever achievements you are doing, because women keep on working at home also, they have lots of chores to do, and at office also they keep on working, and avoid keeping any diary or details of their achievements. So this is again very important point to we have to keep on data with us, continuously note down our achievements, and reframing goals as well, that how this goal is contributing to the organizational growth. Many of the time happens that you keep on working and later on it is said that this was not a great contribution to our organization, and you were not aware of that whether it was important, significantly contributing, or it was just a small part of the contribution. So you need to reanalyzing the goals or the work that you are doing, is it actually contributing to the organizational growth? And if you're so sure about it, you then include this in your pitch and then talk to your management that how your contribution is mutually benefiting to you as well as your company. So this would be the very reflective exercise, and this would really very very important. I think this is the second or third last slide of my presentation. This is how we can match the goals and the resources, the goals that we want to achieve and resources what we can offer to the company. So we understand nothing is free in this world. If I ask my company to give me something in the sense, if I negotiate on some part and I want some services and benefits, I should be ready with either I have already done, that's why I'm asking, or what I am asking will benefit to the company. So nothing is free, we should be ready what services I am going to give in exchange. So it's work on social exchange theory. So for example, first goal is attending a professional workshop and conference. If you go and negotiate your manager that you want to attend a professional workshop and conference, you should be ready with an answer, how is it going to contribute to organization. You can answer or you can keep a pitch ready with you that if I attend a professional workshop and conference, I would be helping mentoring my junior team members with the training which you receive from the conference and with the knowledge that you receive from the conference. So that's how that will benefit the company as well. Second example, get a flexible work schedule. So if I get a flexible work schedule, I will be able to take the lead on internal presentations as well. So if I get a flexible work schedule, whatever time I get, I'll be able to contribute to certain internal presentations. Third example, gain access to budget for a team initiative. So if I keep on gaining access to budgets for my team initiative, I'll be able to sharing industry contacts and connection. Lead a client presentation or pitch. So if I am giving an opportunity wherein I am the person who is leading the presentation in front of the client, I would later on prepare a client report for you. So companies are looking forward not just presentation, but somebody should be there who will be preparing reports. So again, that would be the benefit you would be talking to company. Final example is receive additional training in technical skills. So if you want to go and receive trainings on additional, how are you going to help the organization? I'll be able to conduct team knowledge sharing sessions. So once I receive the technical skills training from outside, if you allow me, I'll come back to the organization and I'll share what I learned in that training with my other colleagues in the organization. So that would again benefit the organization. So that's how the match should be. Your goal and how your when you achieve that goal, how that achievement of that goal aligns with the organization's objective. So this is again one of the formula women can use. Now this is about that one example, using resources to achieve goal brings the most win-win values. So again, this was an example of integrative bargaining, wherein you show how win-win situation it would be. If I help you with research, can you mentor me on client pitching? So again, whenever you are working with a team, and you can share how your strengths you can offer, and you can take benefit of strength of your team members. So you should be ready. If I help you with research is my strength, can you mentor me on client pitching, which is your strength? So this is again in the collaboration, nobody loses, but both of them win it. So that's about the final slide of the day, a conclusory slide, that negotiation is always a self advocacy, it's not a conflict. So we are not fighting with anyone, but we are putting forward our best, our strength, and what I deserve. Be prepared, be persuasive, and be persistent what you are saying. If you come up with your pitch, somebody declines it as somebody asked, we have to keep on talking about it with the data. Maybe at one conversation it will not end, but another conversation at some other point of time, you talk today, after a week again you talk, after another week again you talk, but you have to continue conversation. You don't need to leave it if you think that you have done good and you deserve it as per the standard practice in the industry and inside the organization. Other colleagues have got it, you should also get. You are confident about it, then why not to talk? Believe in your worth, your voice matters. So thank you so much. And I would last question from my end, what's one negotiation you will initiate this month? So just let me know your plan in the chat box. One negotiation you will initiate this month. Anyone who is going to negotiate for increment?
In a national level, we are fighting for our pension enhancement, and our union leaders and organization leaders are fighting with Prime Minister and Finance Minister to enhance our pension.
Yes,
and many a times we hear that we have been given the assurance and all, but it's still not there. But before Diwali, we may get, because negotiations are going on, and we expect before Diwali some pension hike.
True, sir. So, sir, in every negotiation process, we all understand it's not just a one conversation that outcome is either yes or no. There would be multiple conversation, multiple dealings will happen. Certain points will be added, certain points will be deleted, and this is a process. So we
Yeah.
have to be patient to be there in the process instead of giving up.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your experience. Anyone else, please write any point. What do you think you'll be negotiating in coming months on? Everybody is hesitant about. That's okay. So thank you from my end. My email ID is, if you want, you can connect. You can share your views with me, and I'm also available on LinkedIn. And that's it from my end. I hope you might have got some benefits from my session. I tried my level best to keep it quite example oriented and practical oriented. Tanisha, I would request everybody to please switch on their camera first so that we can have a photograph as well.
Yes, on behalf of everyone, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Miss Arpana for sharing her wisdom, guiding us with such clarity. Thank you so much, ma'am, for making this session so knowledgeable. And thank you to everyone for your active participation.